I'm Madam Eva, a biology teacher from Educare Tanzania, and I'm here, my dear student, to take you through a series of lectures involving revision questions in various topics, but today we'll make the continuation of topic of evolution, Form 4, in the revision exercise number 4. As you can see here, we'll take a look on the question number 17, question number 18, as well as question number 19. And the remaining question will proceed with it on the following or proceeding sessions. As you can see in your question here, we are required to give reasons as to why the study of fossils records is important in evolution. Tutoe sababu za kwa nini paleontology ni muhimu katika evolution. Why? In explaining evolution process, we have to dig deep on the knowledge of fossils. And now, my dear student, you will get the answer of this question. First of all, as you can see this question as Form 4 student, you will have to understand that this question might appear on your Part C of your examination paper. And this question you will have to answer it in the essay form, comprising the introduction, the main board, as well as the conclusion. And you can see here, we are going to look on the answer. We can see before, if you find it in Part C, before you enter the main body, you'll have to give out the introduction, from which you'll define the key terminologies. For instance, here you'll define the meaning of, you'll give out the meaning of paleontology, or you'll say that the study of fossil fuel is referred to as the paleontology. Then you'll give some points or some explanations before you enter the main board. As you can see here, the study of fossil records is crucial in understanding evolution for several reasons. Kusoma fossil records ni muhimu kwa sababu itakusaidia kwenye kuielewa evolution. Na hizi tunazoenda kuziangalia ni sababu za kuisoma evolution, kuisoma paleontology before hujaweza kustudy, hujaweza kufanya uchunguzi wa evolution. First one, the reason first is evidence of past life. Katika paleontological studies kuna evidence of past life, from which you can see documenting species ambako inakuwa ni evidence kutokana na past life. Hizi documenting species, we can see fossils provide direct evidence of organisms that lived in the past, allowing scientists to identify and classify extinct species. So, evidence of the past life from paleontology itakusaidia kujua how organisms evolve from time to time, kwa sababu itakupa documents ambazo zina possess species ambao walilive at the past time. Then, kwa sababu you are exploring on evolution, utajua yes, how do these organisms change to this current form? And then there is diversity of life. According to the evidence of past life, you can understand the diversity of life, from which they showcase the diversity of life forms that existed at different points in Earth's history. You can see on diversity of life, they showcase the diversity of life forms that existed at different points in Earth's history. Itakuonyesha a variety of species ambazo ziliweza kuexist katika past time until nowadays, kwamba kulikuwa kuna diversification ya species mbalimbali. Maybe there was dinosaurs, there was a lots of species ambazo zilikuwa zina structures mbalimbali according to those records. That is all about the evidence of past life. That is why you will have to study fossil records before you understand well evolution. And then now, tunaenda kuangalia the second reason is understanding evolutionary change. On understanding evolutionary change, you can see transition species. Fossils can reveal transitional forms that illustrate the gradual changes between species, supporting the theory of evolution. Example, Archaeopteryx as link between dinosaurs and birds. That is all about understanding the evolutionary change, and here you can see is a transition species. When we talk about a transition species, we mean that the species existing between the two distinct species, the ancient one and the present one. For instance, here you can see an example, Archaeopteryx, which is the dinosaur, which exists as a link between the ancient dinosaurs and the bird. Ilikuwa kama ni transition species kutoka katika bird-like organisms ambao waliishi hapo beginning up to that real birds ambao wako sasa hivi. And now tunaenda kuangalia also morphological changes kwenye understanding evolutionary changes. By comparing fossilized remains, researchers can study how specific traits have evolved over time. That is morphological changes. Kwa kuconsider hizo evolutionary fossilized remains, kwa kucompare mabaki ya fossils, tutaweza kuunderstand ni kivipi organisms walikuwa wana change over time. That is all about understanding evolutionary changes. Another reason is chronological framework. Kwenye fossil records, si vitu vimepangwa chronological. From here we can see there is geological time scale, and this geological time scale is used to arrange the fossils according to their age, kulingana na miaka ambayo hiyo fossil au hiyo organism aliishi mpaka akafa. As you can see here, on geological time scale, fossils help establish a timeline of life on Earth, allowing scientists to place events in chronological context. That is the reason of you as evolutionist, you have to study the paleontology before you start providing your ideas and making your speculations. As Darwin does, you can see also there is dating techniques. Radiometric dating and stratigraphy help determine the age of fossils, providing insight into when significant evolutionary events occur. Also on paleontology there is dating techniques, ambako katika dating techniques we can see for instance radiometric dating instruments zinasaidia kudetermine the age exact time ambayo fossils fulani zili exist. Kwa hiyo wewe kama hivyo mtu ambaye unajihusisha na evolution, itakusaidia kuelewa vizuri ni kivipi species fulani, ni muda gani ambao species fulani ili exist na species nyingine ikaja ikaexist na nyingine hadi sasa. That is. Also another reason is all about environmental context. You can see paleoecology. Fossils provide clues about past environments and ecosystem, helping scientists to understand how environment changes influence the evolutionary process. Kwa hiyo kuna kitu kingine ambacho kinaitwa environmental context. Kwamba by looking on the fossil records, by studying them, it will enable you through paleoecology kuweza kujua the kind of environment those fossils were surviving, or those organisms ambako fossils zao unazisoma walikuwa wana survive. So uta understand the varying in environmental conditions. Also on the environmental context, you can understand climate change impact, in which by studying fossil records, researchers can analyze how past climate changes affect species survival and adaptation. Kwa hiyo kwa kuunderstand fossil records utaelewa kwamba ni kivipi hii past you can understand how this past climate changes ilikuwa ina affect those organisms ambao walikuwa na survive katika kipindi hicho na adaptations zao. And now after that tuangalie pia another reason is biogeography insight. From here we can see distribution patterns. Fossils help explain the geographical distribution of species over time, shedding light on how continents shifting and climate changes influence the evolution. That is all about distribution pattern. Fossils zilikuwa zinasaidia kuonyesha distribution pattern kwamba ni kivipi climate changes na climate patterns zilikuwa zinasaidia kwenye zilikuwa zina influence process ya evolution kipindi hicho ambako hizo fossils zilikuwa zina exist. Also on the biogeography you can see there is endemism and extinction. They can indicate patterns of extinction and the emergence of new species in different regions. Also in biogeography unaweza ukagundua, ukaangalia, ukasoma, ukajua kulikuwa kuna patterns gani za evolution na extinction ilikuwa inatokea. It means extinction inaweza ikatokea then evolution ikatokea kwa kuemerge new species. That is all about biogeography. Also, another reason is testing evolutionary hypothesis, in which fossil record gaps. The fossil record can confirm or challenge existing evolutionary theories, providing a basis for refining scientific hypothesis. Kwa kusoma hizi fossil records zinaweza zikawa kama msingi wa kuchallenge the present evolutionary theories na kusaidia the new hypothesis ikatengenezwa na evolution ikaelezwa kwa uzuri zaidi. Also, predictive models. Fossil evidence can help predict where certain type of fossil might be found based on evolutionary relationship. Pia inasaidia katika predictive evidence kwa kuonyesha kwamba ni wapi ambako pengine fossil ya organism fulani itakuwa inapatikana kwa kuangalia evolutionary relationship. And also, the seventh reason is human evolution. Here we will talk about hominid fossils and cultural evolution. Hominid fossils, fossil of early human ancestors, provide critical insight into human evolution, including physical changes and migration patterns. Kwa hiyo pia inasaidia kwenye human evolution, ambako the past fossils zitatuonyesha changes ambazo zilitokea katika kipindi hicho mpaka sasa hivi tukapata the real human we are. Also, cultural evolution, studying artifacts alongside hominid fossil help understand the development of early human culture and behavior. Pia inatusaidia kuunderstand the development of human culture and behavior na hii ya sasa hivi ikoje. That is cultural evolution. And up to that, my dear students, twende tukaangalia the question number 18, in which the question need us to explain how does the law of use and disuse explain the neck elongation in giraffes. Ni kivipi law ya use and disuse ilielezea the neck elongation kwa giraffe. And now here tunaenda kumwangalia Lamarck. As we can see, the law of use and disuse proposed by Jean-Baptiste Lamarck in the early 19th century suggested that organism can develop or lose traits based on their usage. That is how this law explains in a briefly manner. But ukitaka kuieleza in deeply zaidi, you can see, according to this idea, traits that are used frequently become stronger or more pronounced, while those that are not used may diminish or disappear over generations. Kwa according to Lamarck, zile trait ambazo zilikuwa ni used frequently zilikuwa zinakuwa strong, but ambazo zilikuwa less used zilikuwa zina uwezo wa kudisappear na kuperish out. And now you can see application to giraffe neck elongation. In the context of giraffes, Lamarck's theory would explain neck elongation as follows. One, he considered the environmental pressure. Before we look on the explanations, we can see environmental pressure. It means that the pressure of lacking food in the environment, ukosefu wa chakula kwenye mazingira, ndio ilikuwa ni environmental pressure ambayo ilipush this giraffes, short-necked giraffes, kuanza kuangalia ni kivipi wanaweza kupata chakula kwenye upstairs trees. So on doing that, ikawapelekea wa stretch shingo zao ili waweze kufikia majani yaliyoko juu. And you can see giraffes live in environments where food sources such as leaves from tall trees are often out of reach for shorter animals. This creates a selective pressure favoring individuals that can reach the higher foliage. That was the first point, environmental pressure. The second one is use of the neck. According to the law of use and disuse, giraffes that stretched their necks to reach higher leaves would develop stronger and longer necks over their lifetimes due to this frequent use, that is use of their neck, ambao walitumia sana shingo zao, kwa waliweza kusurvive, wakaweza kuelongate their neck to reach the need, and they survive over generation and generation. That is according to Lamarck. Also, the third one is inheritance of acquired traits. Lamarck suggested that these acquired traits could then be passed on to the next generation. Therefore, offspring of these giraffes would inherit longer necks, leading to a gradual increase in neck length over generations. So, I'll explain in terms of acquired of inherited traits in such a manner that the present day giraffes walitokana na short ones ambako due to environmental pressure walikuwa na shingo ndefu. Na according to Lamarck akatuambia kwamba these acquired traits zinaweza zikawa transformed kwenda kwenye offsprings kutoka kizazi kimoja na kizazi kingine. And this is all about the question number 18, my dear student. Now we are going to explore on the question number 19, which is the last question in our today's session. As you can see here with the examples, brief explain how comparative embryology provides evidence to support evolution. Tueleze ni kivipi comparative embryology ili provide evidence ku support evolution, but consider with examples. So the main or the key point here, we will deal with examples, explaining them how they support, they explain about evolution. We can see comparative embryology is the study of the similarities and differences in the embryonic development of different species. Tunaenda kuangalia comparative embryology ni study ya similarities and differences of different embryonic development in different species. And now, it provides evidence for evolution by highlighting common developmental pathways and structures, suggesting that these species share a common ancestry. And here are some key examples. We are starting with pharyngeal pouches. Example, in human embryos, there are pharyngeal pouches that develop into structures like the jaw and the throat. Similar fishy embryos also have these pouches which develop into gills. Tunapozungumzia pharyngeal pouches ni through the mouth there is pharynx. So these pharyngeal pouches katika human tunaona kwamba zinakuja kudevelop into jaw and throat, but katika fish nako katika embryo stage ipo ambayo inakuja kudevelop into gills. And significance of that is that the presence of this similar structure in embryos of different species indicates a shared evolutionary origin, suggesting that land vertebrates and fish have a common ancestor. Kwa hiyo huu ni umuhimu wake kwenye evolution, kwamba comparative embryology imetueleza hivyo kuonyesha kwamba hawa land vertebrates na fishes wana common ancestor, yani wana uhusiano evolutionary. Just because of the evolution, kwa hiyo from fishes others wakawa human, wengine wakawa other species na kadhalika, but the ancestor is the same. Also, we can see another example is tail structures. Example, many vertebrate embryos, including humans, chickens, and monkeys, exhibit a tail-like structure during early development. And significant, you can see, while humans lose this tail structure before birth, it is presence in various embryos suggesting a common ancestry among vertebrates, where a tail was a functional feature. Tunapozungumzia tail structure, kwamba for those organism ambako mkia utaendelea kuwepo na human ambako ina disappear after birth, it means kwamba we have the common ancestor or we share the same evolutionary lineage. Again, we can see limb buds, then we will see the notochord and similarities in developmental stage. Limb buds, you can see the early limb development in vertebrates like humans, cats, while in the bats show similar limb bud formation. And significant, despite the different final forms, example human arms vis-a-vis, while flippers, the underlying embryonic structure indicates that This species evolved from a common ancestor with a similar limb structure. That is all about limb birds. Limb birds katika whale, cats, human beings zimefanana, na hii inaonyesha kwamba wametokea kwenye same ancestor na wanashare the same evolutionary lineage. Pia tunaenda kuzungumzia notochord. Example, the notochord is present in the early stages of development in all chordates, including human, fish, and frogs. So, these rod-like structures serve as precursor to the spine and highlights a shared evolutionary trait among diverse species. Kwa hiyo notochord itatuonyesha kwamba chordates wote wana share evolutionary species, wana share the same ancestor na evolutionary lineage. Again, tunaenda kuangalia similarities in developmental stage. Example, the embryonic stage of various animals show striking similarities in early development phases. Example, cleavage patterns and gastrulation. Tunaposema developmental stage, it means kwamba stages ambazo zinatokea kipindi cha embryo zinafanana kwa most of species. For instance, the patterns of cleavage, gastrulation, neurulation, and so forth. This indicates that they are from the same ancestor and they share the same embryonic origin. And up to here, my dear student, I would like to say thank you for following us, Educare Media Tanzania. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and like.